Welcome in to the Wiltfong Whiparound with Steve Wiltfong. We are live. No, I mean it. We are live on YouTube. Today is Monday, December 1st. We're live because, well, Steve's in Nashville 48 hours before signing day. As always, I'm your host, Josh Newberg, and we have made it to the final days. I'm not even counting days at this point. I'm counting hours until National Signing Day. And this is the final week. So we got a lot to cover today. Like I said, Steve Wiltfong is in Nashville, so we're going to go live with Steve here in a moment. We're going to bring him in. He's working on a story as we speak. We're going to get to it. It's some Jared Curtis news. There's a couple people in the chat that know where we're going with this. So we are going to talk Jared Curtis in just a moment, but I am excited to be here with Steve because nobody in the game is more dialed in than this guy at this time of year, and we have him live in studio. So we're going to get it rolling. Like I said, we're going to talk Jared Curtis. We got a big USC prediction that just rolled in, but first, you guys hit subscribe. Look at this. We did it. Before signing day, we hit 100K, 100,000 subscribers on a 2-year-old channel. So we did it just before Thanksgiving. I am thankful for you guys and this channel. We're going to have some fun in the next few days, in the next few months. So thank you guys for subscribing. And also, if you guys have any questions, any teams you want us to cover, drop the questions in the chat now. Let me know who you guys follow, any questions about the class of the team, ask them now, and I'll try to get them answered throughout the show. Also, join Rivals today. Great time to join Rivals. Get 1 year full access to The Athletic, plus all the On3 national and fan site content as well. All right, before we get it going, let's take a look at the landscape here. If we could bring up the rankings. Not quite 25, it's 24, but you get the gist. USC sitting in that number 1 spot. But Georgia right on their heels. Notre Dame, excellent class. You got the Ducks, the Buckeyes, Alabama, Texas, Miami. Who's going to add more? We know Texas A&M and the Texas Longhorns are both, right now in recruiting, heading down the stretch, you got Predator and you got Prey. Who would you put in the Predator list? Who do you put in the Prey? I know that I like Texas right now. I think Ohio State has some unfinished business. We'll see what happens at the top. Because if Jared Curtis, right now Georgia pressing USC for the number 1 spot, but if Jared Curtis is to leave the class, USC fans can really breathe a sigh of relief in terms of finishing number 1. I think USC will walk to the finish if Jared Curtis does indeed end up flipping to Vanderbilt. I know it sounds crazy. We're going to break it all down. You also got LSU moving into the 11 spot. We'll see if they can add a couple more now with Lane Kiffin on board. Michigan. Remember what Michigan was doing this time last year. We were in the wake of the Bryce Underwood flip, and all things seem possible for Michigan recruiting. Is that the same case this year? Is Michigan going to be one of these programs that's able to come in and create some chaos? We'll see what happens. Number 13, you got John Summerall's Florida Gators. Doesn't that sound crazy? 14, Mike Norvell staying in Tallahassee. Kind of a flat recruiting momentum right there with Norvell returning for a 7th year. Oklahoma's red hot at 15. Clemson, UNC, South Carolina, Washington, Texas Tech. Watch out with LaDainian Guyton. He is the crown jewel of that Texas Tech class. He's the number 1 player in the state of Georgia. He is locked in to Texas Tech, but one thing we know is for sure, Georgia is going to press until the end. They wouldn't be earning their money as recruiters if they didn't continue to pursue LaDainian Guyton all the way until pen hits paper. Then at 21, you got Ole Miss, Mizzou, Iowa, and Illinois. Steve, are we ready to talk a little USC?
Yeah. Oh, I thought we were about to talk about the story I'm writing here.
Do you want to start with that?
Let's start with it right now.
All right. We're going to start. Let's get into it. We got Jared Curtis intel. Steve, right before we came live, there was some breaking news. Tell us the latest on Jared Curtis. What's changed?
So Jared Curtis, and I'm posting this on our message boards right now for our Dora report and both our Georgia sites over here at Rivals. But Jared Curtis originally was planning on signing and announcing his final college decision on Friday. I am told he will now do that on Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. local time, 10 a.m. Eastern. So we will have the final decision from Jared Curtis on Wednesday morning ahead of his state championship game and not afterwards.
Does this change anything in terms of how you thought of this recruitment? Does anything change for you?
I mean, obviously, my prediction's on Vanderbilt. That is the program that I think is gaining momentum down the stretch. But this is a young man that is committed to Georgia twice, has a lot of love for the Bulldogs program. Kirby Smart, Mike Bobo, the caliber of players they recruit, the consistency of championship level play, and so we'll see what happens. He continues to have positive dialogue with the Georgia staff. And then certainly I think once Clark Lee signed his extension with Vanderbilt, it really intensified with the Commodores and I think helped them grab momentum down the stretch of this recruitment, one that we're closing in on with finality.
Really interesting. Major development down the stretch. Jared Curtis, it sounds, Steve, would you categorize this as Jared Curtis is making a third decision?
I do. I think that as he goes through his process, there's been new information that he's had to take in and digest. The first time he committed to Georgia early, he didn't get a chance to fully go through his process and take visits and see schools. And he decommitted from Georgia out of respect to Georgia, that he was calling Mike Bobo before every visit and say, hey, I'm going to go visit such and such school. And Coach Bobo basically would say, yeah, man, go out and visit. Just remember you're a dog. So finally he just wanted to just go out there and be free, visits a bunch of schools, goes back and forth between Oregon and Georgia, ultimately commits to Georgia. Second time, Vanderbilt kind of takes off here as a senior. It's a completely different Vanderbilt program. They stayed on him. They're playing at a much higher level. Clark Lee signs an extension. The opportunity to play early as a freshman has become more of a priority for Jared down the stretch of his recruitment. Doesn't mean it'll be the end-all, be-all for him, but as he gets closer to signing, I think playing early has become important to him, and he sees an opportunity to do that at a program that's having success. So just been new information to digest. I mean, this is a young man that has been recruited as long as anybody just about in this cycle, earning offers in camp prior to his sophomore season. He's very gifted physically. It's easy to see why he's recruited so heavily, about to play for a second state championship on Thursday. New information has been brought to him, and he's digesting it all to make sure he makes the right final decision. So if he picks Georgia, he'd be picking Georgia essentially a third time, if you want to break it down that way. Or Vanderbilt's obviously giving him a lot to think about at the end of his process.
All right, so we'll see what happens here with Jared Curtis, but you guys are the real recruiting experts. What's your prediction? What do you guys think is going to happen with Jared Curtis now on Wednesday at 9 a.m.? And, well, I guess we're going live Wednesday at 9 a.m. for our signing day show. We thought Jared Curtis
was
going to –
Probably a little earlier, right?
Yeah, probably a little bit earlier than 9 a.m. Thought Jared Curtis was going to announce on Friday. His state championship game, as Steve said, is on Thursday, so he's going to make that decision Wednesday now, play in the state finals, and not have to worry about his commitment afterward. So we'll see what happens. You guys let us know where you think he's headed. Steve, let's stay on the Georgia topic. Defensive lineman P.J. Dean, we thought he was locked in, but now South Carolina has come calling. What do you think? P.J. Dean out of the state of North Carolina, so not an in-state recruit for Georgia.
Well, P.J. Dean's obviously got the family ties to the Georgia program. It's a place that he's seen firsthand how they develop their players, how they treat their players. And it was a back and forth. I was talking with colleague Chad Simmons about this morning. I mean, it was a real back and forth with South Carolina leading into his first commitment to Georgia. And even Ohio State had some momentum for PJ. So it was a tight recruitment for him. It looked like it could have went South Carolina's way, but Georgia pulled it out, and South Carolina stayed on him. I mean, Coach Beamer and that coaching staff, when you're a coveted target, they build relationships, meaningful ones, and stay on you and continue pushing. He was slated to visit South Carolina earlier in the fall. That fell through. He was able to make it there this past weekend for the Clemson game. I don't think you can cross South Carolina off, but Georgia continues to, from what I understand, have good interaction with P.J. Dean going into Wednesday. We'll see what happens, but right now I have them in the Georgia class as I talk to you at 1:56 Central Time on Monday. Feels like Tuesday already.
I know. It does feel like Tuesday, but today is Monday. We are live right now, and let's stay on this Georgia topic one more time. Is there anybody else you're watching when it comes to Georgia, whether committed or potential flips down the stretch here?
Yeah, a couple guys. 4-star offensive lineman Tyreek Jemison visited Georgia 3 times this fall, including their last 2 home games. He's trending towards the Bulldogs on the Rivals prediction machine. Blake Stewart, in-state safety, someone that Georgia has really hit the gas for this fall. Former Clemson commit. They're battling Vanderbilt again for him. Georgia Tech's been involved. Miami has had him at the top of the board. Georgia predicted for both Blake Stewart and Tyreek right now. Chad Simmons and I not sleeping on the Commodores for Blake Stewart as well.
All right. Well, Georgia fans, talk to us. How you feeling about signing day? Will it be a celebration of Jared Curtis? How do you guys feel? Let me know. Comment section below. Now, we got more big news, except now we're talking USC. The USC Trojans have the #1 class in America. And, Steve, you just dropped a major flip prediction for the Trojans.
Yeah, with colleagues Greg Biggins and Adam Gorney, we like USC to ultimately land 4-star receiver Caden Dixon-Wyatt out of Santa Ana, California, Mater Dei High School. USC just never stopped pushing for him, obviously committed to Ohio State right now, but the Trojans remain on the gas, and he's always spoken highly of USC. The coaches, the tradition, it's all elite. What keeps me excited about the Trojans is the culture they're building in the 2026 class. It's not just hype. They're really about development, competition, and getting guys ready for the league. USC showed improvement again this season. Obviously, they'll be one of the college football playoff top contenders next year with what they're bringing back. And Caden Dixon-Wyatt is one of those last remaining pieces for USC. They already have 34 commits right now. #1 class on Rivals. We like them to add Caden Dixon-Wyatt to the fold by the time you put pen to paper.
All right. Let's clean this up a little bit. Rumors were I don't know if I want to say swirling, but rumors with wide receiver Boobie Feaster. There's some buzz around Texas A&M. How do you feel about Boobie Feaster heading down the stretch here?
Still feel good about him signing with USC. I mean, the Trojans have made him feel very important. He's loved visiting their campus, has a great relationship with Coach Riley and his future position coach, and the track record of development they have historically is something that's very exciting for him. And as of right now, I think USC, I feel strong about him staying in the fold. Texas A&M, been trying to chip away, but still the intel continues to favor him sticking with USC.
All right. Well, I can't get out of a USC segment if I don't ask about Chris Henry Jr. Now, with the news of Caden Dixon-Wyatt, his fellow modern-day teammate, Chris Henry Jr., there's been some buzz about him, mainly around Chris Henry Jr. in Oregon. But do you think there's any chance that we could see a USC surprise here?
I think that it's still more likely that if he flips, he would flip to Oregon. But there are some people that are saying that USC is, trying to cook up something big here at the end. So we'll see. I mean, obviously that's a guy that's coveted. I mean, Scott Schreider reported on his site today that he thought the class wouldn't get bigger than 35. I've talked to some people that said that they would be done if they ultimately landed Caden Dixon-Wyatt. But there was someone there today that said, hey, USC, don't be surprised if they're still on the gas for Chris Henry as well.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way that if Chris Henry Jr. wants in your class, you are not telling him you're full. Those numbers are you can work on those numbers. So we'll see what happens there with USC, but it looks like the Trojans are going to finish with the #1 class in America. Huge cycle for Lincoln Riley and his staff. What a great class. We'll talk more about them on signing day. USC fans, how you guys feeling? How you feeling about this flip prediction from Steve Wiltfong? Talk to us in the comment section below. All right, we are heading out to the Plains. There was some breaking news. There's been breaking news left and right, but this has to do with Auburn and safety Braylon Womack, the elite prospect out of the state of Mississippi, has flipped his commitment to Mississippi State. Where did this come from?
Did that just break?
It was about 5 minutes ago. Where?
Yep.
where did Mississippi State come in for Braylon Womack? Because throughout the cycle, it seemed like if he was going to flip anywhere, it was going to be to LSU or Texas A&M.
Well, certainly Texas A&M looked like they were closing in on flipping Braylon Womack after hosting him a couple Saturdays ago for the rally over South Carolina. But Mississippi State got him on campus twice this month. I predicted him to the Bulldogs this morning. Also predicted Mississippi State to flip Micah Nickerson, top 100 edge rusher from Missouri. So Jeff Lebby and company, the growth that they had as a program, the excitement around that football team, the fan base proximity to home, the opportunity to play right away, the uncertainty at Auburn, and Braylon Womack, he knows what Texas A&M always thought of him, just never went there.
Mm-hmm.
So there obviously was some hang up with him in College Station. Not, at least that's my read on it.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, he's staying closer home and going to Mississippi State. And Auburn certainly had his commitment, and his sister plays softball there, and the comfort and DJ Durkin's defense and that scheme and everything. But he is a Bulldog. Massive recruiting win for Jeff Lebby and company.
Dang, that's crazy. Now, how about Jace Matthews, also from the state of Mississippi? We know A&M and LSU are trying to flip him, but is Mississippi State a player here to flip Jace Matthews?
Have not heard Mississippi State. He said he's 90% locked in with Auburn. Visited again over the weekend. Even got a chance to meet new coach Alex Golish. I think Coach Golish is an offensive-minded coach. Has had a lot of success over the course of his career. He loves the vibe, the community, the way he feels at Auburn. And so he's going to be tough to flip from the Tigers. Enjoys being inside Jordan-Hare Stadium, War Eagle, all that entails. It'll be an opportunity for him to come in and play early for a new coaching staff. He mentioned Texas A&M. I don't think they're really in play. He mentioned Ole Miss. Perhaps Pete Golding and company can make a late run. Another source said LSU maybe, but he seems pretty excited about Auburn right now.
Wow. Well, that would be huge if Auburn's going to be able to hold on to him. I thought they were going to hold on to Braylon Womack, but he is now flipped to Mississippi State. That happened 7 minutes ago, Steve. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's focus back in on Auburn, though. They hire USF head coach Alex Golish yesterday. Steve, we've known Alex Golish for a long time. I've known him since he was the tight ends coach and recruiting coordinator at Iowa State. Always known as a very good recruiting assistant coach. Obviously, he got things turned around at USF as a head coach and now gets an opportunity in the SEC. Let's keep it to recruiting, but what do you like about this Alex Golish hire?
Well, he is someone that has no entitlement, pounded the pavement at Mid-American Conference schools, going into a bunch of high schools, having to grind through film and tape and evaluate guys and find the ones that he thought could be difference makers in his program. I thought he was integral in Iowa State becoming a competitive program. I mean, the Cyclones don't have much football tradition. An annual loser, Matt Campbell and company get there. Alex Golish, a big part of it with the players he helped recruit. And then schematically, Iowa State becomes one of the more consistent contenders in the Big 12. And they've quietly put out some really talented quarterbacks in Ames. Goes on to Tennessee, helped win some major recruiting battles for the Vols, called the plays. Josh Heupel didn't call the plays. He called the plays. So a terrific play caller, a guy that is recruited with all kinds of different logos, from the most prestigious logos to places like USF. The one thing I can say about Alex Golish, he's going to be very involved in that process for Auburn from a evaluation standpoint and a recruiting standpoint. Some of these head coaches, they're closers. They just get on the phone at various times. Alex Golish loves getting to know his players. He's a player's coach, and that process starts when you recruit them and get to know their family. So I think from a head coach perspective, Auburn has to be excited about what Coach Golish is going to bring as a recruiter. He's been part of some really good rebuilds in his career. Iowa State, Tennessee even, and then South Florida, making them competitive again. He's going to push the envelope at Auburn to be as competitive as possible. He wants to win a national championship. And with that, I think he's the tide that can raise that ship back into that conversation for the Tigers.
Okay, well, we talked about the news at the beginning of this segment of Braylon Womack flipping his commitment from Auburn to Mississippi State, but Do you think we could see Auburn add anything to their class between now and National Signing Day?
Yeah, there's quite a few guys that are still in play for Auburn right now. In-state receiver Deshaun Spencer, he was close to flipping to USF from Duke. Now Auburn becomes the favorite for him. You know, they had 4-star defensive end Jordan Brees Carter on campus over the weekend. I think that's going to be a modern recruitment. So who decides to be the most modern? You got Tennessee, Georgia Tech, and Auburn in play there. Quite a few guys that they had on campus this weekend that Auburn, you know, they'll add a couple guys down the stretch here, but they had top 10 classes under Hugh Freeze in the last 2 cycles. And I think that it's fair to say that that would be the aspirations under Coach Golish moving forward, is top 10 recruiting classes, adding guys that can help you win at a championship level, but then getting the most out of them, which is what Auburn struggled to do.
Yeah, Auburn now falling to number 47 in the Rivals industry ranking. So we'll be talking more Auburn down the stretch here in the next 48 hours. Tiger fans, chime in. How you feeling about this Alex Golish hire? Who's your priority targets down the stretch? Let us know. Comment section below. All right, let's stay in the SEC. Let's stay with the coaching changes. We're talking LSU. We saw the Lane Kiffin drama unfold almost in real time throughout the weekend. And already the 5 stars are all in on Lane Kiffin when it comes to LSU recruiting. Lamar Brown yesterday met with Lane Kiffin on Sunday. That had to be pretty cool. They probably called him up, told him, hey, we're going to have Lane Kiffin here. He wants to meet you. Could you make it up to the school? And Lamar Brown, living so close to campus, was able to do that. The number 1 athlete in America. Miami tried to flip him. A&M tried to flip him. I mean, anybody in America would have taken him, but those were probably the 2 programs down the stretch that, if you want to say had some traction, had some. But Lamar Brown, the number 1 athlete in America, he's on board. Richard Anderson seems like he's all in. Deuce Gerald's, Trenton Henderson. Look at these top 100 defensive linemen checking in. No issues there. Should be a pretty calm signing day for Lane Kiffin here. Do you think LSU is going to lose anybody? Are they going to gain anybody? How are you feeling about this LSU class right now?
When you talk about guys that they could gain, that list starts with Rivals 300 receiver, former Oklahoma commit Braden Allen out of Lafayette Christian Academy, former Tulane commit that flipped to the Sooners, Sam Spiegelman, Shea Dixon, and I predicting LSU to keep Braden Allen home. J.C. Anderson, tight end from Chicago, from Illinois, not from Chicago, was committed to Ole Miss. He's someone that our colleague Greg Smith has on Flip Watch for LSU right now as well. Dylan Berryman's an in-state defensive lineman. If they're on the gas for him, they could certainly land him. They offered 4-star receiver Ohio State commit Jerquaden Guilford today. Now, I'm not hearing any movement just yet, but he almost committed to Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, so maybe Jerquaden Guilford becomes a name to watch down the stretch. But the Lane Kiffin excitement's really going to carry over to 2027.
All right, let's talk about Lane Kiffin in 2027. We've seen Lane Kiffin recruit. Wouldn't say high school recruiting is probably his favorite aspect of a head coaching job, but recruiting is very important at LSU. I mean, the standard is the standard. Top 10 doesn't really get it done at LSU. They're expecting top 5, top 3, sprinkle in a number 1 class here and there. So, of course, we know what he's going to do in the transfer portal. There's no doubt. But what should LSU fans expect when it comes to high school recruiting?
Well, I think that, and when you look at the championship contending programs, most of them are a base of high school recruiting using the transfer portal as a supplement. At Ole Miss, Coach Kiffin had to rely on the transfer portal a little bit more to be as competitive as they were, but he still was signing top 20 recruiting classes. LSU, you have recruiting advantages. I mean, it's a program that is particularly in the southeast of the country, that's an offer that's very prestigious, and you're going to consider LSU and go up and visit, and it's a special place, the pageantry, the pomp and circumstance. There's not many places that stack up like LSU does. So there's some built-in advantages to recruit top classes. Most of those kids that grow up in Louisiana dream of playing for the Tigers. Now, they're not batting 1,000 in their state, but they bat pretty darn good in their state. And we've seen them recruit nationally in the new landscape of recruiting and in the NIL era. And I think they'll continue to do that. Lane Kiffin obviously brings a new excitement, a team that now has championship aspirations. So in this next recruiting class, they're going to be viewed as a national title contender quickly. And that's going to be another element that resonates with these key guys that they're in on.
Yeah.
I think he's going to keep – LSU's got a recruiting army, a bunch of staffers that do a great job pounding the pavement and recruiting for the Tigers. I would imagine he keeps the majority of those guys in place. Guys like Frank Wilson and Corey Raymond are just LSU royalty. You keep them on staff. They're fantastic recruiters.
Yeah, the furniture comes with the house.
And Coach Kiffin, he's got a chance to be one of the best closers. He's obviously very charismatic. He's seen a lot of great football in his life. He's coached on some great staffs, coached under some great men, and coached great players. And when he gets in a room with you, his recall is unbelievable. He'll make guys feel very comfortable and at home at LSU. So I think status quo for LSU recruiting, their top 10 classes year in and year out. You brought Lane Kiffin in to develop and maximize the roster and get the most out of your players, someone that's going to hold the coaches accountable to do just that as well. The creativity, the swagger, the culture, that's what you brought Lane Kiffin in for. You know you're going to have players. LSU recruits great players year in and year out. They haven't always been getting the most out of them.
Yeah, and I actually think this is a perfect fit for Lane Kiffin because not that he doesn't have to recruit in-state, but the loyalty in-state for LSU is there with the top guys. And generally speaking, those in-state top 10 players, they kind of make up the core of LSU's signing class year after year. So I think he's going to see some of the highest ranked classes Lane Kiffin's ever landed during his time at LSU. And of course, we know what he's going to do in the transfer portal. I think with the LSU logo, that'll only be strengthened, and his ability to pull talent out of there will be fun to see. So LSU fans, how you feeling? Are you all in on Lane Kiffin at this point? Talk to us in the comment section below. Steve, how you feel about Tennessee recruiting at this hour? Tennessee, a lot of names in play. Currently a top 10 class in Knoxville, and this weekend they had a host of official visitors. Maybe one of the biggest visit weekends we saw for official visitors, a JUCO defensive lineman, a couple flip targets. But who were you watching this weekend in Knoxville?
Yeah, I'm watching a couple guys that weren't at Tennessee this weekend that I think that they would love to add down the stretch. Top 10 recruiting class. Jeremy J.J. Finch from Indianapolis Warren Central, 4-star defensive lineman, an absolutely coveted guy for Tennessee the entire cycle. Committed to Alabama. He could flip to Tennessee by Wednesday. I talked to a source close to Finch today. No answer on what he's going to do, which is good news for Tennessee, in my opinion, right, as they try and rally to flip him from Alabama. That doesn't mean he's flipping, but I'm just saying, you still just want to be in the discussion right now. Took a game visit to Tennessee, been to Knoxville several times, very familiar, loves the scheme, thinks he can play early. He's one. Jordan Breeze Carter, former Texas A&M commit. He's been to Tennessee twice since reopening his process. He's also looking at Auburn and Georgia Tech. Those are kind of the top two guys out there on the board on defense for Tennessee that they would love to add. And then 4-star running back Amari Latimer. Running back still remains a position of need. He's a guy that they've loved the entire cycle. I'd maybe lean Miami right now. I know colleague Chad Simmons feels the same way. But Tennessee's still in the conversation, so anything can happen over the last 48 hours. I do expect Tennessee to land defensive tackle Naquavian Simmons. He's out of Powerhouse Carver High in Columbus, Georgia. He visited over the weekend. I have a prediction in favor of Tennessee for him. Carter Gooden was on campus. They're kind of battling Vanderbilt for the UCLA commit. I'd maybe give the edge to Vanderbilt, but we'll see what happens, what decisions Tennessee makes over the next 12 hours.
All right. Yeah, Tennessee has a lot going on. Also, before we get out of this Tennessee segment, one of their top commitments, athlete Celeste Moa, was at Michigan, made a final visit to Michigan over the weekend. What's your thoughts here on Moa? Is he on flip watch?
I think he's going to stick with Tennessee, talking to some people that spent time with him in Ann Arbor. He also visited Utah a couple of weekends ago per Austin Price of our Tennessee site. But I'm still hearing that he likely sticks with Tennessee.
All right, Tennessee fans, 48 hours until this class is inked. How you guys feeling? You got a top quarterback coming to Knoxville again in Faison Brandon. Talk to us about the class. Comment section below. All right, Steve, I'm gonna lob you an easy one here. Let's talk about one of the hottest teams in America, the Indiana Hoosiers. As Curt Cignetti, he's got to focus on signing day, but I'm sure he's got his attention on the Ohio State Buckeyes coming up.
Number 1 versus number 2, coming to the best sports city in the country, Indianapolis, the Mecca. And I'm not joking. Like, I know I have a lot of pride in my city, but the way we put on major sporting events, the national title game, Super Bowls, NBA All-Star games, the NFL Combine is second to none. All the big events are in Indianapolis. In this Big Ten championship, Indiana versus Ohio State is going to be fantastic. Depending on what part of the state you're in, Ohio State's closer to Indianapolis than South Bend, where Notre Dame's at. So a lot of Ohio State fans in the area. It's going to be a terrific crowd, a terrific atmosphere. I'm trying to get someone to bring me some water here as I'm struggling here. I'm going to drink from Newberg's glass.
It's vodka. Careful.
Kamchatka. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, it's Indiana plays basketball in the afternoon too. They got a game against Louisville, so people are just going to be coming over from Gainbridge Fieldhouse over there. So it's going to be, it's going to have that tremendous atmosphere, and with that, Indiana's got momentum. They have a nation's number 28 recruiting class in 2026. Maybe we'll see them in the top 25 in 2027.
Yeah. And, when it comes to this 2026 class, I'm just here looking at some of their top commits. What do you love about what Curt Cignetti is bringing to this Hoosier 2026 signing class?
I think when you really deep dive into what Indiana's recruited, this is one of the strongest defensive classes in the land that people aren't talking about. Very disruptive players at the point of attack and linebackers that have the traits to fly around and be fast and physical. On the D-line, you have Gabe Hill and Cameron McCaney are those big bodies that can be disruptive in the middle of the defense. And don't be surprised if we look up down the road and Ronell Johnson is amongst the Big Ten leaders in sacks and tackles for loss. The linebackers, Henry Olinger, Rivals 300 recruit. He's got all the traits to be a fantastic running back on the next level, but he's going to play linebacker for Bryant Haynes in that defense. Jaden Williams from Massillon, Ohio, Washington High, committed to Indiana. Ohio State's tried to flip him all fall. Major recruiting win there. And then also Kevontae Hugan out of the Peach State, another very talented linebacker that's going to come in physically ready to play. And then you have Casimir Hicks, maybe the best player in the state of Indiana this year, someone that's a difference maker on both sides of the ball, can be dynamic with the ball in his hands. He's got a chance to be a special defensive back for Indiana. Now, they've recruited well across the board, but just defensively in all three levels, they have difference makers with the upside to play on the field with the Ohio States and Oregons of the world.
Yeah, it's going to be – Indiana's not going anywhere, especially on this channel. So, Indiana fans, make sure you guys are subscribed because 2027, we're not going to get into it today, but I know Steve has a ton of intel when it comes to Indiana recruiting. They are red hot when it comes to 2027. So, Indiana fans, make sure you guys are subscribed. We love talking Hoosier recruiting. All right. Speaking of teams we love to talk about, Virginia Tech, Steve, landed a new quarterback, Troy Hoon, a one-time Penn State commitment, is now with the Hokies, and another flip just before the show. Talk about it.
Yeah, they also flipped Rivals 4-star linebacker Matthew Lama out of the state, the home state. He jumped in the fold for Virginia Tech. He is completely rating this Penn State class right now, and Lama is another guy that we liked a lot in this cycle and trending for 3 more Virginia Tech predictions today, Josh. Matt Sigg, 4-star safety, committed to Penn State. He's going to commit on December 3rd. Indiana and Pittsburgh involved. I like the way that's shaping up for the Hokies. Terry Wiggins, a top 10 linebacker in the country, committed to Penn State. Took his official visit to Virginia Tech over the weekend. I have him ultimately landing in the class. And then Garrett Witherington, a defensive lineman, committed to Kentucky. James Franklin was recruiting him heavily When he was at Penn State, he chose Kentucky. But coming out of a visit with Mark Stoops being let go, easy to like Virginia Tech there. So I logged that prediction. Benjamin Izuka is an offensive lineman committed to Penn State that I think ultimately lands in the fold as well. And they'll look to keep it rolling with guys like Tyson Harley, a 4-star edge rusher, Thomas Wilder, a 4-star offensive tackle, 4-star receiver Davian Hamilton. They're battling Maryland for him. He took his official visit this past weekend. So when they started off, they had the nation's number 118 class. They're in the top 60 right now. Could they get into the top 25? I think there's a chance.
Yeah.
Chad Simmons' colleague this morning talked about T-Ron Richardson being a guy committed to Oklahoma that could ultimately flip to Virginia Tech. I talked to a source today that said Virginia Tech is actively in the conversation for T-Ron Richardson. So a lot of guys still out there for the Hokies. They may be the program we're talking about the most over the next couple of days just because of the newness of the program and how many spots they're trying to fill and how many pre-existing relationships James Franklin has with these coveted guys from the DMV area.
Yeah, it's exciting to see. I think the timing of Virginia Tech's hire, really jumping on James Franklin, gave them a huge boost. I know Lane Kiffin just arrived at LSU and Alex Golesh and John Summerall just arrived at Florida. But I don't know if they're going to see as many commitments down the stretch as we're seeing for Virginia Tech. So it just seems like
they don't have the foundation with
right.
guys that James Franklin does.
That too. Yeah, that's a great point.
James was able to bring his whole recruiting staff, basically, that he had at Penn State that also have the connections. There's the cohesion and the chemistry that they have together. And then his track record. I mean, like, Penn State was a regular in the New Year's Six. And I know they have championship aspirations there, and they didn't think Coach Franklin could get it done, so that's why they let him go, which I think was ridiculous.
But look at him out there now, twisting
in the Final Four last year, and I understand that this season didn't go the way they planned coming off that exciting season that they had. But under the new landscape of the college football playoff, 12 teams, James Franklin would have been a regular in the college football playoff. And then you see what happens, right? You see if you get hot at the end of the year. And he's had some really good football teams, some great players, some guys that are stars on Sunday. And that is resonating with these recruits down the stretch. And the expectation is that Virginia Tech's going to be good and be good fast. And we've seen that program be strong, and there's a lot of energy around that program. And so the relationships, James Franklin's track record, and having his recruiting staff there has resulted in these guys wanting to be part of Virginia Tech's program. And more than anything, I think it shows the genuine, authentic relationship that Coach Franklin and his guys have with these recruits, how comfortable they are, that it doesn't matter where he's at. They want to be where he's at. They believe in him, that he's going to turn the program around because of his track record of being a player's coach, the culture and toughness that he has in their programs. And Virginia Tech is on the rise. They are on the come up. They're going to be a program we're going to be talking about a lot.
Absolutely. So Virginia Tech fans, make sure you guys hit subscribe. We love talking Hokie recruiting, and it's not stopping because they are red hot. All right, let's move on and talk a little Texas Tech as the Red Raiders. Yes, their 2027 class is amazing, but I want to just talk about the crown jewel of this class, edge with Damian Guyton. They are hanging on tight to him. He's the number one player in the class, in Texas Tech's class. I believe he's the number one ranked player in the state of Georgia this cycle. Georgia, obviously, as I said at the top, if they weren't recruiting him until the final second, they wouldn't be doing their job as recruiters. So what's the latest on Guyton and where things stand with his commitment to Texas Tech?
And they're going to keep on him. I think Georgia will continue to try and push for LaDainian Guyton until it's time to put pen to paper.
Sure.
But still sounds good for Texas Tech as we talk on Monday afternoon, 2:25 Central Time. And that was the first, modern recruiting flex this cycle, right? Them going into Georgia. Now, Texas Tech has a lot of legs to stand on. I mean, they're top 5 offense, top 5 defense. This is the number 1 defense in the country. They're top 5 football team. Joey McGuire's done an incredible job of creating a lot of excitement around his program. James Blanchard, Brian Nance, that's a well-oiled machine of an off-field recruiting department. They have the resources. the infrastructure to recruit guys like LaDainian Guyton, but then the culture is getting the best out of these players. They're a program that plans on making a run in the college football playoff this year. And as Felix Ojo said a couple months ago, this is going to be the least talented team that they're going to have. Now, we'll see. Wait, with the injuries that they have at the quarterback position, Texas Tech could be a major player at the quarterback position in the transfer portal. You already hear names speculated of who's going to be in the portal, who they could go after. Guys, we had the report that Sam Levitt from Arizona State, certainly there's the reports of Dylan Raiola out there. Does he go in the portal? So it'll be, Texas Tech has the resources and the track record to show that it's an exciting place to go play football. They have the top 20 recruiting class right now in 2026. They have the number 1 recruiting class right now in 2027, and they're backing it up on the field, showing guys, hey, we can compete at a high level. It'll be interesting to see what kind of run they make in the college football playoff. They are exciting on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. We hadn't really talked a whole lot of Texas Tech in the first year on this channel. This is year 2, and we're talking a ton of Texas Tech. I think a couple months ago, we kind of made the realization like, hey, the Red Raiders are not going anywhere. They're a real player for some of the top talent, not just in the state of Texas, but also in the entire country. A lot of number 1 players committed to them, and that's not going to change anytime soon. But it will be something to watch. LaDainian Guyton down the stretch. As you see here, number 3 edge in America, number 12 overall. So we're talking top 1% of 1% when you are looking at the best players in America. LaDainian Guyton down to Texas Tech and Georgia. We'll see what happens there. All right. We got one more segment to cover. Let's talk about the Miami Hurricanes. Mario Cristobal loves to go out with a bang. And Steve, we're looking at a few commitments here that are a few recruits that are committed to other programs. Let's start with Karsten Bush.
Former commit to another program.
Former commit to another program. Let's start with Karsten Bush.
Well, he just took an official visit to Miami over the weekend, arrived there on Saturday after Miami got done beating the brakes off Pittsburgh. So energy high, excitement high. Only visitor on campus, I'm told. And Wisconsin was trending after visiting the Badgers early in the week, but time spent around Coach Cristobal and his staff, seeing the opportunity to play early. It's lining up for Miami. Logged a prediction for the Hurricanes today for them to land Karsten Bush. He's going to commit on our network Wednesday at 4 p.m. He's got a ceremony in the school. As long as the test goes well with Trey Yanity, our producer. We'll be doing that commitment live, working on the details now. But Wisconsin, Miami coming down the stretch. I like where the Hurricanes stand. He enjoyed his time with their defensive coordinator, all the linebackers on the coaching staff that can help streamline the learning curve and help a young man get on the field faster. This guy's physically ready to play. He is explosive. He is very physical. He is a top 20 player at the position. Per Rivals, a 4-star recruit. Miami is the number 8 recruiting class in the country. And if they add Karsten Bush, I think he would immediately become one of the guys that has the best chance to play as a true freshman.
All right, Steve, we're going to continue to talk some Miami flips, but right now I want to talk to the Wiltfong Whiparound listeners about game time. It is because the NFL season's here, college football is almost over, but who doesn't love to go see their favorite NFL team live and in person, especially when you could go with a bunch of your buddies. Maybe me and Steve are going to go to a game here pretty soon. Maybe
I'm trying to go.
Game.
Look, I'm trying to go to a game this weekend. It's the Big Ten title game. It's in Indianapolis, and it is the hottest ticket on the market, best sports city in the world. And I am going to have to pull up my Game Time app right here in the Big Ten title game. You see I'm looking right now for those hard-to-find tickets at the best prices so me and my 2 kids can enjoy the top 2 teams in America. So if you see me at the Big Ten title game, and I plan to be there, Game Time is the app I'm going to be using to get my butts in the seat inside Lucas Oil Stadium for the game of the season.
Yeah, because tickets are not always easy to find, and getting deals on those last-minute tickets can be frustrating when all you want to do is be there the moment your team runs out on the field. Like Steve said, thankfully, there is the Game Time app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It is the hack for unlocking amazing ticket experiences. It only takes a few simple clicks. The app, it's easy to use, and the game time guarantee, it means you can get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay. You can get into NFL games as low as $100. That's why I use the Game Time app, and so does Steve. It's super simple, and it makes the experience of buying great seats a breeze. Also, one of the coolest features I've seen is the Game Time lowest price guarantee. It's where Game Time will credit you 100% of the difference to guarantee you're getting the lowest price if you can find tickets elsewhere. All right. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code ON3. That's promo code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. As always, terms apply. That's ON3 for $20 off Game Time. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, we are back to the Miami flip intel, and you know, Steve, they've wanted another running back. Is there one out there that the Canes could flip down the stretch?
Yeah, Amari Latimer, currently committed to Wisconsin. Miami very much in play. Tennessee also in the picture for Amari Latimer. But I could see him at Miami. I mean, it's a program that he's been high on his entire process. He's been down to Coral Gables this season offense where he can really flourish. Now, Tennessee is another program that's been giving him a lot to think about. West Virginia has been swinging. Maybe he sticks with the Badgers. Coach Fickell getting the vote of confidence from the administration. His brother starts in the secondary for Wisconsin, but Miami, definitely a program to watch down the stretch for Amari Latimer. Number 8 class in the land. Mario Cristobal and company typically have some National Signing Day fireworks. Could it be another exciting Wednesday? I think it could be. I like where they stand for Karsten Bush. Would not be surprised if they landed Amari Latimer as well.
And obviously the crown jewel of this class is Jackson Cantwell. And when Jackson Cantwell committed to Miami, there was some fans in the comment section that did not believe that Jackson Cantwell would end up signing with Miami. But this is one of those stories that, Steve, we've just tucked away. We haven't talked Jackson Cantwell drama at all this cycle. I mean, he truly bought in to what Mario Cristobal and that staff have done in terms of developing offensive linemen.
Well, when you looked at his finalists, those were programs that have offensive line track records. Oregon, Georgia, Miami. He views Alex Mirabal as the best offensive line coach in the country. Mario Cristobal has had his hands on some of the best offensive linemen in college football at his various stops throughout his career. The importance of the offensive line within the Miami football program, those were all things that excited him. Obviously, it was a modern recruitment as well, represented by Drew Rosenhaus. I think all those programs that were finalists had attractive things on and off the field for Jackson Cantwell, but the combination of Cristobal, Mirabal, and modern recruiting, then you have Jackson Cantwell in the fold, unwavering, someone that believes in the future of this Miami football program, one that he expects to be playing in college football playoff games for years to come.
Now, Miami did take some big swings. I mean, you had Tank Jones on campus this season, Calvin Russell, Derek Cooper, Lamar Brown, several others. Is Mario going to pull out any of these guys that we had been talking about, or is it kind of down to the Karsten Bush, Amari Latimer down the stretch?
If Miami has a surprise on Wednesday, I would not be surprised. I just don't know who that's going to be now. I think all those guys are good. I don't have them in Miami's class. The only two guys I'm talking about for Miami right now are Karsten Bush and Amari Latimer.
All right, well, those would be big additions. Miami fans, talk to us. How are you guys feeling about the class? How are you feeling about signing day in 48 hours? Do you think there's going to be some fireworks? If there are, who will it be? Let us know. Comment section below. All right, let's tie up some loose ends. Is there anybody else that you want to talk about that maybe didn't fit into a team segment there? I mean, we know the Gators have a new coach in John Summerall. Carson Baker kind of looking around. Do you think he sticks in the class? Hezzy Kent has also been talking to some guys. Anything there with the Florida Gators?
Well, with Carson Baker, colleague Chad Simmons has been writing a lot about South Carolina and the Gamecocks becoming a program to watch. North Carolina trying to put together an exciting finish. You got Vodney Cleveland out there. Deron Parks, a former Florida State commit. Vodney Cleveland's a 4-star defensive lineman. Deron Parks, offensive lineman. Carson Baker, someone that they're also trying to land down the stretch. So North Carolina could have some fireworks on Wednesday. We talked about Jared Curtis at the top of the show. I think it's only right to end the show with Chris Henry Jr.
Yeah,
number one ranked receiver in the country, committed to Ohio State. I think from the Buckeyes' perspective, all quiet and, on track on the Chris Henry front. I still think Oregon's warm in that one. And like we said, there's some people that think USC's lying in the weeds. And Scott Schrader said today that they have room for one more. We think that'll ultimately be Caden Dixon-Wyatt. So Chris Henry will be one. That's a letter of intent that we will be tracking on Wednesday. Does Oregon have a surprise for them, or does it stay status quo? We've seen Ohio State keep elite receivers in the class on the last day before. Jeremiah Smith, Miami, and that major push that they made at the end. Ohio State weathered that storm. That'll be an LI we'll certainly be tracking.
Yeah, the grass is damn green out there in Eugene, so you never know with the Ducks down the stretch. Dan Lanning could have that Naeem Offord moment with Chris Henry Jr. We'll keep tracking it. We'll see what happens. Thank you guys for joining us today on this live episode. This was fun, a live episode of the Wiltfong Whiparound. If you guys are not subscribed, hit subscribe because we're going live every day between now and signing day. That was a lot more fun to say yesterday when there was like 3 live shows ahead. But we'll be live tomorrow on Tuesday with the Inside Scoop. We'll go a day early on that show because on Wednesday we have our live filming of the National Signing Day show, which will probably go, we were planning on maybe going at 9, but with Jared Curtis announcing he's going to announce at 9 a.m., probably go a little bit earlier than that, set the tone, but definitely get it going with that Jared Curtis signing. Will it be Georgia? Will it be Vanderbilt? We'll find out. 48 hours. Thank you guys. Make sure you hit subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow.